Despite everything, it's still you. I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with this quote, a callback to the identical mirror you find at the start of the game in Toriel's house. It's such a simple line, and yet these 5 words tell you so much. There are so many ways to play this game. You could have taken the easy way out and killed, but instead, no matter how difficult things got, no matter how many times you've died from these monsters, you still persevered and stayed true to yourself, never harming a single soul. And finally, when you do get to the very end of the game, you're hit with this quote that despite all of the hardships you've been through, you're still the same person at the start of this game. Undertale is an amazing example of the indie game experience. It does an astounding job at understanding human emotions, especially when I spent 3 days trying to beat Sans for the first time. Indie games give you an experience that can change your view in life, and I'm not even exaggerating. Tell me, when was the last AAA game that you finished where you sat there thinking about what just happened? There's probably some AAA games that give that same feeling, but most of the time, you will get this feeling from indie games. They give you a spectacular story that you'll think of for days after playing, and occasionally remember the story while going on with your day like normal. Unlike AAA games, which a lot of times get heavily carried by their graphics, indie games tell you a story that changes your perspective on certain aspects of life without the need to have wonderful visuals. I have to tell you something. This is the final quote that you see in the ending of Omori. It's such a straightforward line, but it perfectly encapsulates what you've been through throughout the whole game. It's the exact words that Sonny needed to say to move on from the traumatic experience that he had been suppressing for the past 4 years. My experience playing Omori was something else. The story, the art, the gameplay, the music, everything about it was astonishing to me. I've never had another game make me feel like how I felt when I first finished Omori. Similarly to Undertale, this game gives you an experience that isn't all about the gameplay, but the story instead. When I first played this game back then, I was actually streaming it to my friend who had already finished the game. I was making jokes and laughing with them at the start of it, and when the truth was finally revealed, I was silent. I was stunned and shocked. It was the first time I've ever felt that way from a video game, and after I finally finished the game, I was left in a state of wondering. Why? Why did they do this? How did they react? I had so many questions, and the only thing that was on my mind for days was Omori. I would watch so many analysis videos on it, and overall, just couldn't get its ending out of my mind. I guarantee you that there are so many other people who also felt this way after finishing the game. This game is a perfect example of the indie game experience as well, something that leaves a lasting impression on people after playing it, regardless of its visuals. However, not every game needs to abide by that rule. The game Stray is a perfect example of an indie game with some surreal graphics. It takes place in a world where humans aren't around anymore, and instead, robots become self-aware and start to act on the habits and traits that the humans formerly had. The game is simple yet tells a lot. You play as a stray cat and fall into an underground city, and your goal is to get out. Despite how simple it may seem, the game tells you that humanity is not just flesh and bones, but the connection between one another. These robots that the humans created perfectly portray humanity, not just their good traits, but even the bad. Although humans no longer exist in this world, the robots that mimic human behavior show that humanity still lives on, even if it lives on through things other than humans. This game manages to tell an amazing story and teach a valuable lesson without being carried by its visuals. So, in the end, what makes indie games so good? Well, the answer is subjective to everyone. However, to me, what makes them so good is their ability to leave you thinking about them for days, weeks, months, and even years. It's their capability to give you a lasting impression and tell you a story that'll give you a new perspective on certain aspects of life. There are definitely so many more indie games out there that portray this feeling. That's why, before judging a game based on the screenshots you see from the game page, why not try it out first? Who knows, you could either have a bad time or you can have an incredible experience.